let me tell you something straight. When you stop chasing, stop begging, and stop explaining yourself to the wrong people, something powerful happens. You gain control. The world begins to shift in your favor. See, silence isn't weakness, it's strength. Focus isn't selfish, it's necessary. Silence is often misunderstood in today's world because people assume that when you don't respond, you're powerless, indifferent, or don't know what to say. But in reality, silence is one of the most effective tools you can use to protect your energy, maintain control, and project confidence. When you choose silence intentionally, you stop handing over your power to others. Instead of reacting emotionally or impulsively, you hold your ground, and in that moment you become stronger than anyone who is trying to provoke or test you. People will always try to get a reaction out of you. They may criticize, question, or underestimate you, but the person who can sit calmly without engaging, without explaining, without proving anything becomes unshakable. Silence doesn't mean submission, it means self-mastery. It means you're choosing not to waste your words on those who don't deserve them. It means you're not letting your emotions dictate your decisions. Silence becomes a shield, and when you use it well, it communicates more than any argument ever could. Think about the moments in your life when someone expected you to fight back, to explain yourself, or to give them attention. Instead, when you stayed quiet, you probably noticed how uncomfortable they became. That's the power of silence. People crave reactions, and when you don't give it to them, you remove their control. You're no longer playing their game. You're setting the rules, and the rule is, you don't get my energy unless you've earned it. That shift alone transforms how others perceive you. They start respecting your boundaries. They stop testing you as often because they realize you're not easy to manipulate. And even if they don't respect it, your silence frustrates them because nothing unsettles people more than not knowing what you're thinking or how you'll respond. It creates mystery, it builds strength, and it sets you apart. Silence also gives you clarity. When you're not busy reacting to every comment, every judgment, every little thing around you, you create space to focus inward. You begin to listen to yourself more. You start noticing what actually matters, what aligns with your values, and what deserves your time. The noise of the world gets quieter, and your own voice gets louder. That inner voice becomes your compass, guiding you without distraction. And the more you practice this, the more grounded you become. You stop living in reaction mode and start living with intention. That's when you realize silence isn't emptiness, it's strategy. In high-pressure situations, the strongest people are often the ones who say the least. Watch a leader, a negotiator, or someone who holds authority. They don't rush to fill every pause. They don't argue with every critic. They don't need to shout to be heard. They know that words lose value when thrown carelessly. Silence, on the other hand, forces others to lean in, to listen harder, to wonder what you're holding back. It gives weight to the few words you do choose to say. When you finally speak, people pay attention because they know your words carry intention, not impulse. That's real influence. Practicing silence is not easy because our ego wants to defend itself. Our pride wants to be right, and our emotions want to react, but strength comes from restraint. True power comes from knowing you could respond, you could argue, you could fight back, but you choose not to because your peace is worth more. And once you understand that silence is not weakness but a choice, you start to see it as one of the most powerful forms of control you will ever have. Focus on yourself, not the noise around you. This may sound simple, but in practice it's one of the hardest disciplines you will ever master. Everywhere you turn there are distractions pulling at you, opinions from people who don't live your life, comparisons on social media, judgments from family, friends, or even strangers. The world is filled with noise, and if you don't learn to tune it out, you'll find yourself living for everyone else instead of living for yourself. When you focus on yourself, you're making the decision to put your energy where it matters most. You stop chasing validation and start building value. You stop letting external voices dictate your path and start listening to the one voice that truly matters, your own. Focusing on yourself is not selfish, it's necessary. You can't give your best to anyone else if you're drained, distracted, or constantly doubting who you are. The people who criticize you, who tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing, they are speaking from their own perspective, their own fears, and their own limitations. If you make their noise louder than your own truth, you'll live in a box that someone else built for you. But when you focus inward, when you block out the distractions, you begin to design your own blueprint. You start asking, what do I want? What makes me happy? What builds the life I actually want to live? Those questions are powerful, but they require silence, focus, and courage. Noise has a way of consuming your energy without you even realizing it. Every time you compare yourself to someone else, every time you argue with someone who doesn't understand you, every time you let negativity distract you, you're giving away energy that could have been used to build your own life. That's why focusing on yourself is an act of protection. You're protecting your time, your mind, and your growth. You're saying, I will not be pulled in 100 directions just because everyone else thinks I should. You're creating boundaries, and those boundaries are what allow you to grow without being drained. When you focus on yourself, you also begin to notice progress more clearly. You're not looking sideways at what everyone else is doing. You're looking forward at your own lane. That's when growth accelerates. Think about running a race. You keep turning your head to see where others are, you lose speed, you lose rhythm, and sometimes you even stumble. But if you keep your eyes on your lane, you conserve energy and gain momentum. The same is true in life. Your lane is different from anyone else's. Your timeline is different. And the only way to reach your potential is to stop worrying about what's happening around you and focus on moving forward, step by step, in your own race. The people who master focus are the ones who achieve the most. They don't waste energy proving themselves, they don't scatter their attention across every distraction, and they don't let outside voices drown out their inner vision. They know where they're going and they commit to that path even when others don't understand it. And the truth is, the more you focus on yourself, the clearer things become. You realize who adds value to your life and who only brings noise. You realize which opportunities align with your goals and which ones are just distractions dressed as possibilities. And most importantly, you realize that your growth, your peace, and your success depend on how well you can protect your focus from the noise around you. Energy invested in you creates results, and this truth is often overlooked because most people are too busy giving their energy away. Think about how much time and effort people spend trying to please others, proving themselves, or pouring into situations that give them nothing back. That constant output leaves them drained, frustrated, and empty. But the moment you start investing that same energy into yourself, your growth, your skills, your health, your mindset, you begin to see real change. Every ounce of energy you redirect inward compounds over time. Just like money grows when it's invested wisely, your life grows when you invest in yourself consistently. Most people underestimate the power of energy because it's not something you can see directly, but you can feel it. You know when you've wasted it on things that don't matter, scrolling endlessly, arguing pointlessly, saying yes to things you didn't want to do. You also know the feeling when you've invested it well, reading something that teaches you, exercising, working on a project, practicing discipline. That investment gives you a return. It builds confidence, momentum, and progress. And that's the difference between those who remain stuck and those who evolve. The stuck person spends all their energy outward, trying to meet everyone else's expectations. The evolving person spends energy inward, and as a result, they grow stronger, sharper, and more capable. Energy is a currency, just like money. You have a limited amount each day, and how you spend it determines what your life looks like. When you give it away to meaningless conversations, toxic relationships, or distractions, you're essentially throwing that currency into a fire. But when you channel it toward building yourself, learning, improving, resting, training, you're planting seeds, and over time, those seeds turn into opportunities, resilience, and success. The best part is, the more you invest in yourself, the more energy you actually gain. It's a cycle. A strong body gives you more stamina. A sharp mind gives you more clarity. A disciplined routine gives you more control. You start to create a foundation that keeps replenishing itself. There's a reason the most successful people guard their energy so fiercely. They know that saying yes to everything is a direct path to burnout. They know that you can't pour from an empty cup. They also know that every bit of energy they invest in self-mastery pays off in ways that nothing else can. That's why they read daily, practice their craft relentlessly, and treat their time as sacred. They understand the equation, energy in equals results out, and they refuse to spend their energy on anything that doesn't serve their purpose. You don't need to make massive leaps overnight to see the results of energy investment. Small, consistent deposits create transformation. 10 minutes of reading a day becomes knowledge that compounds. A daily workout becomes strength and confidence. Practicing mindfulness becomes clarity and peace. Each act of investing in yourself builds momentum, and momentum is unstoppable once it takes hold. People will start noticing the change even before you do. They'll wonder why you carry yourself differently, why your presence feels stronger, why you seem more centered. That's the invisible return of investing in your own energy. At the end of the day, you are either building yourself up or breaking yourself down with how you spend your energy. Every choice either compounds positively or drains you further. The discipline is in becoming aware of where your energy goes and then redirecting it toward what feeds you, not what depletes you. Once you commit to this shift, you'll realize that results aren't random. They're not luck or chance. They're the byproduct of where you've been investing your energy day after day. And when you choose to invest in yourself, the return is undeniable. You become someone who grows, who creates, and who attracts success because your energy is finally aligned with your purpose. Distance reveals who truly values you, and this truth often doesn't become clear until you step back and create that space. When you are always available, always present, always giving without pause, people begin to take you for granted. They assume your time, your energy, your attention will always be there waiting for them. But when you pull back, when you create distance, something powerful happens. You start to see who notices your absence and who doesn't. You learn who respects your space and who only valued your presence when it was convenient for them. Distance is the test that reveals the truth about relationships, friendships, and connections. It's not about cutting people off out of anger or resentment. It's about giving yourself the clarity that space provides. When you step back, you remove the constant noise of interaction, and suddenly the reality of who truly cares becomes visible. Those who genuinely value you will reach out, they will check in, they will notice the shift. Those who were only there out of habit, convenience, or selfish gain will fade away. And as painful as that can be, it's also freeing, because it shows you where to invest your energy and where to stop wasting it. Distance is also a form of self-respect. It communicates that your time and your presence are valuable. It says, I am not here to entertain, to constantly give, or to be taken advantage of. I am here on my own terms, and if you want access to me, it has to be mutual, it has to be real. When you stop making yourself overly accessible, you set a boundary, and boundaries are what separate healthy relationships from draining ones. Distance gives you the leverage to see how balanced your connections really are. Do they only call when they need something, or do they call just to ask how you're doing? Do they notice when you step back, or do they carry on like you? Absence means nothing. The answers reveal everything. Creating distance also allows you to focus back on yourself. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in pleasing others, showing up for everyone, and saying yes out of obligation that we lose ourselves in the process. When you create space, you give yourself the chance to breathe, to reset, to realign. That pause is where you regain your energy and reflect on who deserves your time. And when you come back from that space, you're stronger, clearer, and more intentional with who you let in. Distance doesn't destroy real connections. It strengthens them. People who truly value you won't be threatened by your boundaries. They won't take your silence as rejection. They won't disappear when you step back. Instead, they'll meet you in the middle. They'll respect your space and still make the effort to be there. Those are the people worth keeping. On the other hand, distance will eliminate the people who only benefited from your constant availability. They'll stop reaching out, they'll fade into the background, and you'll realize they were never truly invested in you to begin with. And as much as that truth can sting, it also protects you from continuing to invest in the wrong places. The courage to create distance is what allows you to separate loyalty from convenience. It gives you perspective. It shows you the weight of your presence and the value of your absence. And once you experience the clarity that distance brings, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop settling for relationships that don't reciprocate. You start valuing yourself enough to only hold on to the people who value you back. Distance isn't about losing people, it's about finding out who's really meant to stay. Self-mastery makes everything fall into place because it is the foundation for every other form of success. Without self-mastery, no amount of talent, opportunity, or external support will sustain you. You can be intelligent, skilled, or even lucky, but if you lack control over your thoughts, emotions, habits, and actions, everything eventually crumbles. Self-mastery is about discipline, about learning to manage yourself before trying to manage anything else in life. When you learn to master yourself, the world around you begins to align, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger, clearer, and more capable of handling it. At its core, self-mastery means you take responsibility for who you are and how you show up. You don't blame others, you don't wait for circumstances to change, you don't expect someone else to come fix your problems. You look inward first and ask, how can I grow? How can I improve? How can I rise above this? That mindset separates people who drift aimlessly from those who build their lives intentionally. It's not about being perfect, it's about being aware and disciplined enough to correct yourself when you stray off course. Each time you exercise control over yourself, whether it's choosing patience over anger, consistency over excuses, or focus over distraction, you strengthen that mastery. Self-mastery is also the key to freedom. Many people think discipline restricts you, but the truth is the opposite. The person who cannot control themselves is enslaved by impulses, emotions, and external forces. They react to everything, chase every distraction, and live in cycles of regret. But the person who has mastery over themselves creates freedom because they are not at the mercy of every temptation or setback. They can say no when they need to. They can stay consistent when it gets hard. They can keep going when others quit. That kind of freedom is what builds long-term success because it allows you to keep moving steadily toward your goals no matter what obstacles come your way. Another powerful aspect of self-mastery is emotional control. Life will always test you with difficult people, challenging situations, and unexpected problems. If you don't master your emotions, you'll find yourself constantly thrown off balance. But when you learn to control your reactions, when you pause before responding, when you can stay grounded even in chaos, you gain an advantage that few people have. Others lose control under pressure, you remain steady. Others let anger or fear dictate their actions. You choose wisely. That strength makes you unshakable, and it commands respect without you ever having to demand it. Self-mastery also connects directly to focus. Without mastery over your mind, distractions win. Without mastery over your habits, inconsistency rules. But when you build mastery, you protect your focus like it's sacred. You direct your energy with intention. You say no to what doesn't align, and you say yes only to what moves you forward. That clarity makes progress inevitable because every decision compounds in your favor. You stop sabotaging yourself and you start creating momentum that carries you toward the life you want. Everything else, success, relationships, peace of mind, falls into place because of self-mastery. You stop being controlled by external noise and you start living by internal strength. People respect you more because they can see your discipline. Opportunities come to you because you've built the consistency to be ready when they arrive. Relationships improve because you show up as your best self instead of someone ruled by chaos. Peace becomes possible because you are no longer fighting yourself. Self-mastery is the quiet force that transforms everything, and once you cultivate it, you realize that nothing outside of you has as much power as what you've built within.